Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fellow environmentalists, welcome to a continuation of our program on healthy lifestyles. On the program today, we have a special guest, a lecturer from the University of Zambia, from the Department of Primary Education, Madam Katongo Walia Monga. Katongo, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Grateful.
So we've been trying to do some background check in relation to healthy lifestyles, and two things seem to come up every time. The issue of nutrition and the issue of exercise. So we thought we could tap into your expertise and have you guide us through these two important issues so that we can all learn what exactly is nutrition.
Maybe firstly, I'll mention that my specialty is physical education and sport.
Okay.
So apart from just it being physical education and sport, of course, there's a component of nutrition as we talk about physical education and sport. So when you ask the question, what is nutrition? Nutrition in the simplest terms would be food intake. So this food intake is in relation to the body's dietary requirements. So you could have good nutrition and you could have bad nutrition based on the diet, for example, that one takes. So you could either have a good diet or a bad diet. And by diet, I mean what is the composition of the food that you take. So this food could be, a good diet, for example, could be food containing carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, water. A bad diet would not only be the absence of that, but it would also probably entail not eating regularly or eating at the wrong time. Maybe you eat just before you sleep. That would be a bad diet. Eating food that is overly processed would also constitute a bad diet.
What exactly are you referring to when you talk about overly processed foods? What examples are there?
So when I talk about overly processed food, I mean the best is to have food in its natural state. For example, if I have an option of having a cob of maize and processed millie meal, the cob of maize obviously would be a better option because of the amount of fiber that it contains. It hasn't gone through all these processings or chemical additions, so it's more in its natural state. So it's easier for my body to digest food that is in its natural state than food that is overly processed.
There's a debate out there. When we look at pure juices that are packed in packs, a lot of people prefer those to say carbonated drinks. They are processed and they'll be on a shelf for weeks, months, if not years. Do they qualify to be something good for us to take?
Well, I personally would not recommend those. Given the option of having freshly squeezed fruits juice and the juice that's been on the shelf, of course I'd go for freshly squeezed juice, because obviously for it to be on the shelf for so long, there's a lot of other preservatives that have been added to it to make it last so long. When you keep a fruit out in the sun for 2 or 3 days, it begins to rot. A fruit should normally rot after a few hours or a few days of exposure to the environment, isn't it? But true. Those pre-packed fruit juices will stay on the shelf for longer. And when you eat a natural mango, for example, there's fiber in it, and which you don't find in mango juice. So that is taken away from what you would benefit from fruit in its natural state.
There are some people out there that will say what you're talking about, the issue of good nutrition, is a preserve for people of a certain financial class or social status. Does financial status or social status come into play in terms of a person managing to have a good diet?
Yeah, unfortunately, that has been largely misunderstood because, when I talk of carbohydrates, for example, we're not talking of pasta only. Like I had given an example of a cob of maize is also a carbohydrate, which is a far much better carbohydrate as compared to pasta or rice, which has been processed. When we talk of proteins, we're talking of carpenter, you're talking of eggs. You can get proteins even from local beans, dry beans. So it's not about food elements that we get from shops. I mean, we can even go to the market and be able to make a balanced diet from the food, from the vegetables, from the legumes, from food that we just can get locally. I mean, from the market or just from our own streets here in Zambia.
There are a lot of people that are slender and will say, no, I don't have to exercise because I'm already slender.
Yeah. Well, I've come across a lot of that, but unfortunately, it's a very ignorant perspective to have because we do not know what is going on in our body. What we see does not ultimately tell us what is going on inside. There are very thin people, or there are people that are slender that may have hypertension, that may be diabetic, that may have high blood pressure, and all these. We cannot look at somebody and tell that they are healthy just because they are slender. So everybody actually needs to engage in physical exercises. If I exercise regularly, for example, I'll be improving my respiratory system, my cardiovascular system, circulatory system. All these systems begin to function better because of the effects of exercises on these body systems. So you are doing yourself a favor, but whether slim or big, to exercise regularly to improve the functionality of your body.
Okay. Thank you so much for the loaded information. I'll give you an opportunity to speak to our viewers.
All right.
What advice would you give them in relation to nutrition and exercise, keeping fit?
I'm loving the mood in the country right now, the attitudes. This keeping fit culture is very encouraging, but let's do it with caution. Of course, physical fitness is not just about exercise, but it's also about nutrition. So it's about what we are taking in and what we are putting out. So let's be cautious of the kind of food that we're eating. Are we eating the right proportions? Are we eating the right foods? And are we doing the right exercises? I think apart from nutrition knowledge, we should also have education, physical fitness knowledge. Before we engage into some of these intense activities, we should find out, some of us, it's actually important to even go to the hospital and find out our condition, what is our health status, how are we able to do some of these activities that we're doing. Of course, there are some things that we can physically see that maybe my body is not able to take on this kind of exercise. I mean, if you're unable to do it, don't push yourself just because somebody else is doing it. Take it easy, do it at your own pace. You're not competing with anyone but yourself. So take it at your own pace. If it becomes too stressful for you, reduce the intensity of the exercise to an intensity that fits your capabilities. And also, I think it's important that we prepare before some of these marathons that we are taking on. Others are too quick to run 10 kilometers, 20, up to 42 kilometers. I think you need to know that before you can engage in such a rigorous and high intensity kind of run, you need to have prepared for it. I mean, people prepare for marathons for months on end. We heard of people dying initially when the London Marathon began. People died doing the London Marathon. There were deaths actually because you push your body to limits that it cannot go. So let us please engage in pre-competition fitness so that we prepare for this high intensity exercise. And exercise is good for everyone, whether you're thin, whether you're slim or slender. It's good for all of us to keep fit and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for finding time to be with us. We know you're very busy this time of the academic calendar, but you spare time to be with us and educate us on healthy living. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
So today we were looking at healthy lifestyles. Having listened to Makungo from Aerobics Mania and Katongo from Unza, we hope you've learned a few things that will help you make a decision to lead a more healthy lifestyle. Remember, leading a healthy lifestyle is all about choices. Commitment you make as an individual to change the way you live your life. Change the way you live your life through exercise, and achieving physical fitness, and also changing the way you live your life in terms of having a good diet. Let's also find time to support our family members, friends, and workmates in living a healthy lifestyle. This reminds me of something a friend of mine was saying, Kumbuso Penyani. He called me to inform me that one of his closest friends had passed on. Then he shared a reflection that I think I've heard from many friends and many Zambians. He asked the question, why is it that we seem to support people so much after death? Why don't we offer them the same support before death? And I think that applies a lot to me and many of you viewing right now. We need to find time to support people whilst they are still alive. There is no point in giving someone roses after they are dead, because they can't smell them, they can't touch them, they can't see them, they can't appreciate them. Let us find time to support people whilst they are still alive. Buy them the roses now. Buy them a membership at a gym now. Take walks, jogs with them now. Don't buy people fruits only when they are sick. They need the fruits more when they're healthy. So let's all come together as members of the Zambian society and make a difference in each other's lives. Let's all try as much as possible to lead healthy lifestyles. For Mizu Eco Care Environmental Series, this is Timothy Kamuzu Phiri, and on behalf of everyone here supporting this particular show, I say bye, stay healthy, and stay green.